going to talk about menopause, but I'm only going to talk about the treatment, the medical treatment, so the alternative medicine things we leave out. There are lots and lots of complaints that we can get here in menopause. Hot flushes and night sweats, of course, are the most common one, but there are 100 different other complaints that we can get. Forgetfulness, dryness, vaginal dryness, ache, sore breasts, not sleeping well, not being able to concentrate, things like that. And we just talked about that as well, that of course menopause is a time of life where lots of things change as well. So that can be interfering with that as well. I mean, the kids leave the house, your social circumstances change, so you're always wondering, is it the menopause or is it something else? And I always think, well, probably it's the menopause, let's start off with that, so let's treat it and see whether it helps. And if it then doesn't help, then we need to look at other things. So, the idea behind it, but we actually don't really know that yet, but the idea behind it is that there's a lowering of the estrogen, and that then leads to a temperature control dysfunction. And also in women that are perimenopausal, you get a narrower area where you feel comfortable. So it might not be that you really are that hot, but your body tells you that you're not comfortable with that temperature. So that's what happens. If you have mild hot flushes, what you can do is lower the room temperature, use fans, dress in layers. We just didn't have the airco on, and it was really hot in here, so I've taken off some layers already. Avoid triggers like spicy foods and stressful situations. But if you have more severe hot flushes, the only thing that actually proven has to help is estrogen, and that is HRT. There's all kinds of other things that have helped, and we have proven that just merely giving you some medication that doesn't contain anything will give you a decrease of your symptoms in about 30 to 50%. So the mind is a very strong thing as well. So if we tell you that something works, it is going to work in 30 to 50%. Yeah. Placebo effect. But HRT has been proven to give an 80% complete disappearance of hot flushes and night sweats. Unfortunately, women that have a uterus need to have progesterone as well, because the inside lining of the uterus needs to be protected against the overproduction of estrogen that you're then getting. So the estrogen will build up the inside lining, and if that happens over years and years and years and years, that might develop into endometrial cancer. So to protect the uterus, we need to add progesterone, which is unfortunately because that causes a bit more of the side effects. There's contraindications, and a couple of these are probably the real contraindications. So having had breast cancer yourself is a contraindication to using HRT. Breast cancer in the family, we need to weigh up the pros and cons, whether it's better to be on it, whether your symptoms are so bad, or whether the risks are too great. Deep vein thrombosis, heart problems, stroke, liver disease, all not absolute but relatively indications. In 2002 the bomb was dropped, unfortunately, on HRT because of the Women's Health Initiative. The Women's Health Initiative was a large study that seemed to prove that HRT caused an increase in heart disease, increase in breast cancer, venous thromboembolism, so the clotting in the legs, and strokes. Later on, the subsequent reviews actually say that it was incorrectly reported, and the other thing that also came out is that in the Women's Health Initiative, it was a very, very large study, but the thing that they did is they started in women that were 60 years of age or older, had no symptoms, and they started them on HRT. And so that actually what that study has proven is that if you are a long time without estrogen, the damage to your vessels has been done with being low on estrogen, and then putting estrogen on top of that, that causes heart attacks, that causes breast cancer, that causes dementia, that causes more damage to those vessels because they're already atherosclerotic, and then you put estrogen on top of that. That's not good. So that's actually what this study has proven. Unfortunately, lots and lots of women went off HRT or did never start HRT and which was maybe still up to there. But there is this other group of people that have jumped into that and have taken advantage of this void that has been created by the Women's Health Initiative. Because I am sure that there is a void. Perimenopausal and postmenopausal is probably not a natural state of being. 100 years ago, we all died before we were postmenopausal. We didn't get to 50, or definitely not to 60, and definitely not to 80. We now become 80 years of age. We have 30 years where we are living without estrogen. We better make the most of it. So there's no other animal species as well that actually becomes postmenopausal except the lion, I think. And somebody once told me, but my dog is postmenopausal as well. And I think, well, actually we keep dogs alive past their natural age as well. So that proves my point. Unfortunately, the bioidentical hormones jumped into that void that was created by the withdrawal of HRT. Thanks to the Women's Health, and they say that on their website as well, these things, it's amazing. Thanks to the Women's Health Initiative, the findings that expose the failure of synthetic hormone replacement, women are selecting what has been available for over 20 years, bioidentical hormones that are plant-derived. What they say in their website is it's the same as the body's natural hormones. What they also say in their website is the Food and Drug Administration considers bioidentical hormones to be natural regardless of their source, and as a result they cannot be patented. What they don't say is that as a result they cannot be checked either. We have no idea what goes in. We have no idea of how high the levels are, what effect they do on the body. We have no control over it whatsoever. The Therapeutic Goods Administration and the FDA have no control over what is in these natural hormones. I call them medications. But there's also no warning information. So there's nothing in there that will tell you what the HRT does, the risk for breast cancer and so on. It is HRT. It has the same risk for breast cancer probably, and actually because we don't really know, there might actually be more risk. They claim that the bioidentical hormones are more natural and they resemble hormones in our bodies. Actually, by the time that they get into our bodies, they have been in these factories, they have gone through all these processes, they are synthetically altered to something that probably looks very similar to HRT. And also what your body does with it does not depend as much on what you take in, as well as the enzymes that change it to make it into hormones that function in your body. So what goes in there, whether it's natural or synthetic, your body changes into something that functions. And that's probably the same whether it's natural or synthetic. But also I don't think that those hormones are natural anymore, they are altered synthetically. They say bioidentical hormones are safer. They are less likely to cause breast cancer or uterine cancer. There is no evidence for this. They have never checked that, they have not proven this, they cannot say that, and actually there's some evidence for the reverse. Because we have no idea how much progesterone is in there, there have been some cases already of endometrial cancer because there wasn't enough progesterone to protect the uterus. There's lack of quality control, there's a variability in purity, potency, absorption. If you get it here or you get it in Sydney, it might be two completely different things. You can actually just order it over online. So you can go to some Australian menopause clinic in Sydney and order it online. Because there's a lack of control, there's under and overdosing. And there have been several cases already of endometrial cancer because there wasn't enough protection of the endometrium, and there also can be very different levels of estrogen in somebody's body. Therefore, the bioidentical hormones are not recommended by all these organizations. The general practitioners don't recommend it, or their society doesn't recommend it. There are still general practitioners that do recommend it. The Jean Hales Foundation, with whom we have an alliance tonight, this week, they don't recommend it either. Unfortunately, I can't put the Australian College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists on here, which is a bit of a pity, but maybe we will still get there as well. Looking back at the Women's Health Initiative study, if you take away those women that were 10 years postmenopausal and you looked at 50-year-old women in that study, actually you did see that it improved their menopausal symptoms and that it reduces their risk for heart disease, fractures, it reduces your risk for bowel cancer, it reduces your risk for endometrial cancer and diabetes. And the latter thing is probably because you don't put as much fat around your abdomen, and that might reduce your risk for diabetes. And overall, it improves your life expectancy. So unfortunately, they wiped off a whole cohort of women being able to be on HRT, and actually were very comfortable on HRT and were treated well. And if they had given out these information as well, it really wasn't necessary. If you're on estrogen alone, so for women who don't have a uterus anymore, estrogen actually reduces your breast cancer risk. So this whole kerfuffle in 2002 was not necessary. In short, I think HRT has a place. Short term certainly. If you go over 5 years, maybe there is some evidence that it might create more breast cancer, but for the short term, and most, not most, let me say 30% of women will just cruise through menopause because they will have no symptoms. We don't talk to those women. 70% of women will have symptoms, about half of them will have those complaints for 4 or 5 years. The other half, so about 30–40% of women will have complaints for the rest of their lives. And it can be utterly debilitating. Maybe that's why we had the temperature in this room so high, because we can all sympathize with that. But short term, certainly. Symptom treatment also definitely good. And in selected women, maybe longer term. Yeah. That was